My name is Dylan Steven. I'm the CEO of 118 Group, and today I'm talking about how to give more productive feedback to your designer in order to save costs, time, frustration, and improve the quality of the products and services that you're purchasing. Whenever you work with somebody, a team, whether it's design, strategy, development, you're building a home, you're remodeling your kitchen, it's a partnership and you have to get to know how it's important to learn the best ways of working with each other. And our job as your partner is to learn what works for you, and we think it's very valuable for our clients to have more knowledge and a better understanding of what's the best way to work with us. What's the best way to communicate your needs, your preferences, your feedback with us in order to do all those things I mentioned. Save time with back and forth and misunderstandings, save money with us giving us the right information to do our jobs correctly the first time, and save frustrations with miscommunication, misunderstandings, and improve the quality of things by better understanding what you need and offering more accurate and robust solutions. So the reason we feel like this is important is because sometimes as your designer, we can feel like this.
What do you want? What do you want?
It's not that simple.
What do you want? What do you want?
I have to go.
Yeah, sometimes honestly it can feel like that, and that's kind of the it can be hard for clients to describe what it is they specifically want, and it can be hard for them to know how to give feedback on design work or development work or functionality or feature requests. And so as I mentioned before, the main reason why this matters, feedback that is well structured and communicated allows design teams to more efficiently and effectively achieve a client's vision. So the more aptly you're able to put your thoughts together, structure them, and deliver them in a way that works for us, the easier and more efficiently we can get that stuff up and running and brought to life. And poor design feedback and communication costs time and money. We have to go back and forth with you on emails. We probably are going to end up doing the wrong thing once, and then you're going to be frustrated, and then we're going to be frustrated. So it's important for us to establish this common ground and this understanding of what does it look like to work well together, a well-functioning partnership. So the too long didn't read. 1 is learn the lingo. 2 is structure your thoughts. 3 will be leverage technology. And then that's probably where we'll stop today. So learn the lingo. I think this is really important. Imagine trying to give someone directions to a store or anywhere without using any of the standard jargon we use when giving directions, right? Like, this is a street. You take a left, then you go right. There's an intersection, about half a mile. If you have no understanding of that language, you're not going to be able to give anybody directions to a store, and they're going to be lost, right? And sometimes that's how we feel. So an easy way to start is just to Google web design terms and start to see, open up a couple of these links and start to understand what is the industry jargon, so that you can point us, when you're referencing something or you're trying to achieve something, you can point us in the right direction more quickly by having the right lingo. Here's examples of what doesn't work. I just feel like it's not very exciting. I really want it to be cool. I'm looking for something dynamic and wow. I'm looking for something dynamic and wow. Can we jazz this up a bit so it's more engaging? I feel like this content just gets lost. Can we improve? Again, all those things are not very specific. It doesn't give us a lot of ideas in terms of next steps. It doesn't help us understand where is this feeling coming from and how do we improve it. What might be better and more specific is, can we add brighter colors to the mix so that it stands out more? Can we include some animation throughout the page so that achieves that dynamic nature? Increase the boldness of the headline so it grabs attention better. Or I don't think this section flows well. Maybe we could restructure the order of the page. Again, by being able to sit down and put those more specific thoughts together using some better language, our team can more quickly identify, oh, okay, this is where this is where they're running into issues, or this is where they're not satisfied. Here's how we can turn that around. Especially with design, which a lot of design comes down to personal preference. So we might feel like this is dynamic, and you just might not feel like this is dynamic. And in order for us to better understand how to get that, to move this along, we need to understand why you personally don't feel like it's dynamic. So learning the lingo and using better language is critical for this. Structuring your thoughts. I think things to avoid here. You want to obviously focus on priority. So a lot of times we'll see clients who go right into like tiny little details, like there's missing a comma here, there's a period here, and then later they're telling us that they don't really like the design of this section. And it's the best way to start is big picture and then drill down. Sending piecemeal feedback across 35 email threads. This is really difficult for us to track if you're sending each page or each piece of feedback comes in a different email thread. If you imagine 150 or 60 clients sending every piece of feedback through a separate email thread, obviously that's going to be a challenge for us. Skipping around from section to section with feedback. So if you just send us an email with a list and some of your feedback is for like the home page, and then some of your feedback is for like the content page, and then it goes back to the home page and then back to the contact page. Just take a second and try and structure it under, specific areas, specific pages. Again, the focus here isn't on doing our jobs for us. The focus is on empowering us to do our jobs more efficiently, to save you time and money and frustration. So, and then also, we see this a lot more in like the nonprofit space, or where there are more like stakeholders involved, is when an individual will send feedback and then before having a conversation with larger stakeholders. And that tends to lead to miscommunications amongst our client's team, and just some confusion on our end, trying to understand should we action on, what should we hold off on, all those little things. So, as part of structuring the feedback, have all the conversations you need to have, focus on the big picture first, organize the feedback across sections, and try and send it in as few emails or notifications as possible so that it stays together the entire time. So, as I mentioned, review the entire site before you start typing. That's really a good way for you to understand globally how you feel about things before you start diving into the nitty gritty, right? You force yourself to go through page by page, get a full sense of like how everything plays together, and then start putting your feedback together. You can break your feedback down by global elements and then page by page. And here's an example of when the lingo would work well, because if you know the jargon, a global element is anything that's found on every single page, like a header and a footer. If you can do that, that allows for sweeping changes first. It's part of that big picture, then smaller picture later. And try organizing by level of importance, right? If you just send us all the feedback in a flat, a standard list, it's hard for us to parse out what matters the most to you, right? Because priorities are everything. So if you are able to prioritize and organize by level of importance, we can make sure we dedicate the most amount of time and resources to getting the right things done. So, and it might look like this, right? Like we can set this up for you, or maybe you and your team go through this, and you organize by colors, fonts, imagery, content, flow, broken out by section or page. Just a few ideas for how, if you want to kind of send us one update, you're not like worried about, because you also want to track your own feedback, right? You want to make sure you're organized, because then you can hold us accountable. You can say, look, I gave you this feedback. If you do it across 35 emails completely unorganized and referencing things all over the board, you can't really go back and say, look, guys, I communicated this to you and you weren't able to accomplish it. So there's a problem here. It's that becomes harder for us to hold the right people accountable, us included. A really solid way to improve the feedback process is by leveraging technology. One is a tool called Screencastify, and this is for recording feedback. And basically, it looks like it's a Chrome extension. You can add it. I think you can add it to Safari and other ones as well. And you basically just click it on, just like I would here. I'd click up here, I'd record my browser tab on my desktop, and it records the screen and my audio while I go through a design. I can say, hey, I don't really like the font, the italicized font here, and this like hover box isn't great for me. And then it just basically creates a link that you can then send to us, and then we can digest that feedback, the visual feedback. You don't have to spend an hour and a half typing things out. So Screencastify, there's plenty of screen recording extension softwares or tools out there, so I'd recommend taking a look. Google Docs for document collaboration. That's if like you have a bunch of different stakeholders, or if you do want to do written content, or by adding it all into a Google Doc, we can all collaborate, right? We can comment on your comment or your feedback and say, hey, look, this is the reason we did this. Maybe you want to take a second and digest that before we actually implement this feedback. Or using Google Docs instead of using just email as collaboration is a really good way to kind of again, keep everything together, hold people accountable by being able to reference past feedback, and organizing and structuring your thoughts beyond like email. So that's great. And then we use a tool called Passed Out pretty often, and you might have used this before. And this is something that we could send your way, in which we send you a link to a canvas, and you're able to just kind of point, click, comment, and leave feedback. So those are just a couple of high-level ways to help improve the feedback process. I think what's the most important thing to pull out of this is that it's important for our clients to take ownership over how they work, so that they can ensure that we are more productive, more efficient, and we deliver a better quality service to them, because we're spending less time trying to herd cats or organize other people's thoughts or interpret things. It just leaves more room for mistakes. So if we want to be a well-oiled machine, a solid partnership, then thinking about the way you provide feedback and trying to be more organized and effective can save you money and time. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and have a great day.